We're back. Joining me now with the Politics Fix is MSNBC political analyst Michelle Bernard, Newsweek's Howard Fineman, who's also an MSNBC political analyst, and Jonathan Allen of Congressional Quarterly. Chelsea Clinton was asked about Monica Lewinsky again today when she stumped for her mother at a North Carolina college. Clinton gave the same response, quote, "It's none of your business," but the student pressed her further. Let's listen.
It's none of your business. Well, sir, I respectfully disagree. I think that is something that is personal to my family. I'm sure there are things that are personal to your family that you don't think are anyone else's business either.
Well, what do you make of that, Howard?
Well, my understanding is that she was asked, isn't your father's behavior in office, his personal behavior in office, somehow the public's business? I think that's paraphrasing, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And that's a question that Chelsea, unfortunately, is going to have to come up with a better answer for. Because after all, her father was impeached and nearly convicted in the Senate. This transfixed the country for a couple of years. It really doesn't hold water to say it's not the public's business. Her reaction, Chelsea's private reaction, the internal family dynamics, I'm sure are nobody's business, and we wouldn't want to look at that. But the question of her father's behavior in office became a national issue, and I think she probably is going to have to come up with some other kind of answer.
Michelle Bernard, I have to ask you the same question. It seems to me that Bill Clinton was impeached. It's a matter of historic record. It will go down in his record book, perhaps in the second paragraph even, or first, that he was one of the two presidents in history impeached. If we elect Hillary Clinton president, a lot of historians will say later, wait a minute, how'd that happen if her husband had been impeached without the question ever being answered? Do the campaign people for Senator Clinton have to answer that question one way or the other? Or Chelsea will keep getting asked it.
Chelsea's going to keep getting asked that question. I wouldn't be surprised if we see people asking the question to Senator Clinton directly. It's a good question. It's important. It's an important question. I'm sure it's difficult for Chelsea and brings back bad memories. But what happened and how they worked out their problems is no one's business. But the fact that he was impeached, the fact that he lied to the American public about it, made international news. It's very important. And also, one of the things that we have to remember is that in 2002, when Senator Clinton was explaining her vote on the Iraq War, one of the things that she stressed was her experience from living in the White House and watching what her husband went through as president of the United States for 8 years. And part of that 8-year history was the Monica Lewinsky scandal. So it's a question that she's going to get time and time again, and she's going to have to figure out a better answer for it.
Jonathan Allen, it seems like the students are asking the questions, and they're going to continue asking them.
Yeah, who knows where these are coming from. When you start to get a series of them in a row, you wonder if they're plants from one campaign or another campaign or a Republican student group or something. But she will continue to be asked this. Look, I'm a reporter. I think all questions are reasonable, but also all answers are reasonable. And I think she's probably on pretty safe ground with the American public, saying she doesn't want to discuss her father's sexual infidelity. It seems like a pretty ghoulish topic to ask a child about, even one who's campaigning, even one who's 27, 28 years old.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know what? I think why should she have a special political perspective on what was to her a family horror, actually, probably. Let me ask you all about this latest polling. Howard, you first this time. The latest polling shows that 59-30 in the latest Gallup poll that came out today, Democrats believe that Barack Obama is a stronger general election candidate than Senator Clinton. What do you make of that number? It's a strong number, 2-1.
Well, I think it's impressive, and I think it's sort of the dramatic version of the Gallup tracking polls, which show after that fateful couple of weeks of first the Reverend Jeremiah Wright videos, and then Barack Obama's speech in Philadelphia, and then Hillary's fanciful memories about Bosnia and being under fire there and all that. In that period, things re-solidified in Obama's direction. If you look at the tracking poll numbers, they crossed. Hillary was in the lead for one day. Now they're back out, according to the latest Gallup poll, with Obama with an 8-point lead. I think that's significant, and I think this other poll you mentioned amplifies that, because Democrats are now trying to settle. They're trying to say, okay, what are we left with? What are we really looking at? Whom do we think we should choose? And I think it's an important number. I think it's a very significant number.
Michelle, what do you think is causing Hillary Clinton to lose her competitive edge here? Is it the long dry period without a primary contest she can win all the way to Pennsylvania? She's got to wait about a month now to win one. Or is it the humiliation of saying that she was under enemy fire when it turns out there's videotape to show she wasn't?
I think it's the best answer I can give you, Chris, is it's all of the above. I think that the electorate is suffering from a little bit of Clinton fatigue. The Bosnia story, I think, was a very difficult story for her, in particular when she's running on her experience as being First Lady, the 3 a.m. phone call, the commercial. She's, who's the person that you want answering the red telephone in the White House when the terrorists attack at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I think that was very difficult for her. And quite frankly, I think that Barack Obama is picking up momentum. That speech that he gave on race in Philadelphia was one of the most important and significant speeches I think most Americans have heard in recent memory, and I think it gave him some bounce and some momentum, and people are looking very positively upon that, and she can't give that kind of speech.
Jonathan, what's causing her to fall off the pace here?
I think part of it is that she's been on her heels for a while now. We talk about the Bosnia issue, and then more recently, the whole discussion, the whole debate has been whether she should drop out of the campaign. Whenever you're fighting that battle, whether you should stay in the campaign, you're not on good ground. It's been hard for her to go on the offensive. She's been on the defensive, and that'll knock your numbers down.
We'll be right back with the roundtable for more of the politics fix. Your show, this gets very ethnic, but the fact that he's good at basketball doesn't surprise anybody. But the fact that he's that terrible at bowling does make you wonder.
Anybody either.
Well, it certainly doesn't surprise anybody black, I can tell you that.
Is black a bowling? I don't know. I guess everybody bowls.
This is just killing him, Chris. Don't show this.
No, we're doing it again. This is a killer. Look at this killer, because it isn't the most macho form there, I must say. But who knows?
He can't challenge Hillary. I think he doesn't dare challenge Hillary because Hillary's from Chicago. She might actually be able to get into triple digits over 10
I'm waiting to see whether Hillary challenges to a bowling match. I mean, it might be a thrilling. It might be. You know what? What would get a higher poll, a higher rating? Do you think, Jonathan? A higher rating, television rating, a bowling match between Hillary and Barack, or another debate?
Chris, you got to sponsor.
I think the bowling match absolutely would.
Huh?
The bowling match, I absolutely would, because everybody would be watching to see when they went in the gutter.
You got to do hardball bowling, Chris. You got to do it.
But he gave a good response today when he was talking about his failures as a bowler, and I think he probably picked up some points for people who felt sorry for him that he didn't know what he was doing.
Those aren't the votes he needs in Pennsylvania.
I just think if you're going for the Knights of Columbus vote, you ought to get your bowling down a little better than that. Let me ask you about John McCain. I had a whiff of a theory today, and I want to try it by all three, that John McCain could win the general election, not by defending the last 8 years of economic policy or the war in Iraq as it's been fought, but triangulating the way that Bill Clinton once did. In his case, saying we should go to war with alliances, strong alliances, not going it alone like President Bush, that we need a different economic policy. Could he, Howard, triangulate this campaign and win a state like Pennsylvania? I'm talking John McCain.
No, I understand, and I totally agree with you, Chris. That foreign policy speech he gave was a mirror image on the right of a Clinton triangulation on the left. That's exactly what it was. He said, wait a minute, I'm McCain, but I'm not a warmonger. I want to do the alliances. I want to adopt the Democratic view of the need for diplomacy and alliances, and even the one that predated George W. Bush. I'm with Bush on the war, but only the war.
Let me ask the same question to Jonathan. Can he triangulate? Can John McCain offer himself as a third alternative here? Not to the current policies, but and not to the left policies, which he can portray the Democrats as having, but something different down the middle.
John McCain's the nightmare candidate for Democrats because he can talk to Democrats like a Democrat, and that's exactly what he's going to do on any issue he thinks that it benefits him. He's good for Democrats on climate change, on deficit reduction, perhaps, also on ethics issues, and that's what he's going to do in this campaign. He's going to try to find a good point between George Bush and whoever the Democratic nominee is and settle right there and pin the Democrat to the left.
He's going to be very strong for Israel, I think, Michelle, too. I think he's going to look where he sees weakness on the other side. He's going to go for it. What do you think about his triangulation abilities?
I think his abilities to do this are excellent. He is a centrist. I agree with everyone speaking tonight. He is the Democrats' worst nightmare, particularly if the general election turns out to be one of Senator McCain versus Barack Obama. They're going after the same voters. They're going after moderate Republicans. They're going after independents. They're going after voters who are just slightly right of center and slightly left of center, and it's going to be a very rancorous debate if it's between the two of them.
But bowling notwithstanding, if Barack is the nominee, he has some triangulation abilities as well that have not yet quite been tested. We'll see.
And I wouldn't want to have to defend a recession. I wouldn't want to have to defend a 100-year occupation in Iraq, even if it was purportedly to be peaceful. Anyway, thank you, Michelle. Bernard, welcome back. And Howard Fineman, welcome back. I miss you both. And I've missed Howard a long time. He's my favorite. Anyway, Jonathan Allen, thank you, sir, for joining us. Join us again tomorrow night at 5 and 7 Eastern. We're getting ready for the big one on Wednesday.